Good evening. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Education on Monday, October 14th. And Ms. Johnson, I believe we have a guest this evening to lead us in the pledge.
Tonight we have Malachi Underwood. He's a first grade student at North Jefferson Elementary. And Malachi's mom is one of our teachers, Ms. Chiquita Underwood, and she is a member of the United States Army, currently deployed in Poland. So Malachi, whenever you're ready, you can begin to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. You did a great job.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Good job.
You can do it again?
Very good.
Good job.
Thank you.
Work in the room in first grade.
Handsome young man.
All right. So, summer school report, Mr. White.
Indeed, yes. Good evening, and thank you for inviting me. Audience participation, raise your hand if you're ready to start tonight's meeting with some good news, some positivity. Anybody? Anybody?
Always.
Okay. I thought that might be the answer. So summer school. I've been the summer school principal for just completed 6 summers. And as you know, we rotate back and forth between Washington High School and Jefferson High School for our high school students. And with the middle school students, we rotate back and forth with the location between Charlestown Middle School and Wildwood Middle School. And so this year was no different. We were at Jefferson High School. We offered the summer school program, as we usually do, to high school, middle school students who are in need of recovering credits for course failures, or at the middle school level, really more for remediation. Per the usual, we also offered transportation to all of our students who were in need. The tuition did not change. It remained $150, except for students who benefit from free and reduced lunches. That tuition is waived and they attend for free. So those are all kind of the things that didn't change. You can go ahead and highlight some of the data for you, though. Taking you all the way back to 2017, I want to just kind of give you a snapshot of the 3 most current years. In 2017, you can see the numbers there. We had a pretty even spread of students across the core subjects. Not so many in arts and foreign language, but there were 184 students in all that attended summer school in 2017. Moving ahead the following year, our enrollment only increased a little bit, just about 3 students. You'll see that we had more students enroll in math. That number had went up a little bit. And in 2019, the summer that we just completed, our enrollment dropped quite a bit. 28% decrease in enrollment. There were 146 students. You can see the number of math students declined quite a bit. And I want to talk about that number, 28% for a minute. So in our general population, this is a bad sign. We don't like to see a drop in enrollment. But in our summer school population, this is actually a really, really good sign. And the reason for that is because lower enrollments in the summer program mean that more students are passing during the school year, less students receiving Fs, more students getting the content the first go around. So that's a really, really good thing. So that's the first piece of good news tonight, is the decrease in summer enrollment. Moving on from enrollment to pass rates. So how did the students do when they actually got to summer school? You can see in 2017, our pass rate was an impressive 94.6%, with 100% of students passing the arts and foreign language classes. The math and English were equally as impressive at 96.2 and 93.2. 94.6 was a hard number to beat, but in 2018, our pass rate did increase up to 95.2%, steadily on the rise. And then this year, I'm going to brag about this. 97.3% pass rate was the highest pass rate we've had to date since we've been keeping track of these numbers. Our math pass rate was 95.1. We had a 100% pass rate in English, social studies, and the arts and foreign languages. And then as you can see there was a 96.8% pass rate in science. Just really, really sky high numbers. This is exactly what we want to see in summer school. Back in 2017, I just didn't think it was going to get any better, and sure enough, the kids have consistently performed year after year, making that number go up. You know what, before I go to middle school, let me keep talking about that, because I really want to highlight, and speculate why that is. You might recall, as I've been here in the past to talk about this, that we partner with Shepherd University for the purpose of hiring math tutors. We know that math is a subject that students struggle with the most in the school year, which produces the most number of course failures. So in turn, when they come and see me for summer school, it's again the subject that they struggle with the most. And so what we did is we approached Shepherd University and we asked them if we could have some of their math majors to come into the summer school program and to provide some tutoring for our students, in addition to the teacher who's already in the classroom who can also perform math. So now there are 2 adults in each math classroom that are capable of providing that kind of assistance. And that's why you see that increase in pass rate, because they're beside the children, they're helping them work through and get these students through the program. And so I really, number one, attribute this to the hard work and dedication of the students. You know, they're there just busting it each and every day. And when they really focus on the content and curriculum without the outside distractions of whatever the school day might provide during the school year, they're doing it. They can get through the coursework in sometimes as little as a week. It's very impressive. They're working 3 hours a day solidly, 5 days a week. And so with that kind of laser focus, many of them get through sooner than the 4-week allotment that summer school runs. Summer school runs from the 3rd week of June until the 3rd week of July. Of course, if you finish early, you can leave early. So that's number one, the hard work of the students. I've got a tremendous teaching staff, veteran teachers that have been coming in and helping me implement the APEX credit recovery program. They know what they're doing, they know the program inside and out. And then thirdly, as I mentioned, the Shepherd University tutors. When we got those folks on board, we saw our math go through the roof. And because that's an initiative of the county as a whole, is to increase proficiency in math, I just really want to nod to the program because I think what they're doing there is fantastic.
Alex, can I ask a couple questions? So you were just talking about the teachers and the staff. Do we get the same staff every year when we look at all 3 of these years? Have we had the same staff for each?
We've had minimal turnover.
curriculum?
There have been some staff members who, for whatever reason, maybe weren't available. We've had some move to a different county. But for the most part, by and large, our summer school teachers have remained consistent throughout the years. That is correct.
And do we see any difference in the fact that now we have the retest option, where before, if you failed a test, that was it? Now, if you fail a test, you have the opportunity to retake that exam, so possibly maybe during the year, that would help to give us a decrease in summer school folks. Are we looking at any of that kind of data to find out maybe what other factors it might be?
That's an important thing to note. While I haven't studied those particular numbers, I think that could be a contributing factor. I'm happy to dig a little bit further into that and find out whether or not that's...
What kind of an impact is it making?
It must be making some kind of an impact, because as you can see, with a 28% enrollment decrease, I don't know if there's one thing that we can attribute that to, but certainly that's got to help in some fashion.
And then, do we see any kind of discrepancies between the two schools as far as larger numbers at one in a certain grade or in a certain subject area, as opposed to the other that we need to address that?
I've always
issue?
noticed that there are generally a few more Jefferson students in the program, and I think that's always because that there's the larger population there, so it would make sense. Math is always the #1 subject that they seem to be, as you can tell from a few screens back in our enrollment screen. Math is consistently the highest across the board, almost half the number of students that are there for English, and then it really drops off for the science, social studies, and on down to arts and foreign language. So I think that's always going to be the thing. The other thing I might point out is perhaps the reduction or the decrease in our enrollment is because we have in the past several years started to offer the Apex Credit Recovery Program more during the school day. Once upon a time, that was really only offered in the evenings from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock p.m. twice a week at the schools. And we have started to incorporate the Apex into the daily schedule, the day program. So students may be taking a 7-period day, and they might have 1 or even 2 sections of Apex Credit Recovery to try to get back on track. So that's really, I think, helping keep our summer school numbers down and helping students pass the first time around.
And is that offered for every subject area or just math?
It's offered for every subject area.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. There might be some electives that aren't offered, but all your core content is going to be offered on Apex, in addition to health and the arts and some foreign languages, Spanish 1 and 2, and as well as French 1 and 2. Any other questions before I move on?
Do you see any other things or have any other suggestions at the high school level that you would say either needs to be added, or things that you wish were different about that, things that you think it could make for the students, less likely to do that, or support that the high school might need, any of those kinds of things that?
The one thing that comes to mind is right now, and this would be really difficult logistically, but in order for the high school, and I'm thinking of Jefferson in particular because I know that they have incorporated into the day program more sections of it during the day. But in order to do that, you have to go out and train other educators to be proficient in Apex. And so really making sure that the teachers who are going to run an Apex section are proficient in the program and aren't just there to be a warm body in a classroom to make sure that the students aren't running up and down the walls. Trying to figure out maybe putting students into the classes of the teachers who are proficient in the class that they're taking. So if I failed social studies, what would be ideal is if you were to then put me into an Apex section of an instructor who's proficient in social studies, or world history, or something like that. Same with the math and the sciences. Right now, because of the way the schedule works, that's probably next to impossible. They're just going to shuffle them into, wherever there's an opening in their schedule. So I would my suggestion would be to pay attention to that and try to get them into a classroom that has a teacher that can actually sit down next to them and help in that content area. If I'm a math teacher and you're here to do biology, I might not be able to help you, and vice versa. But that would be my only suggestion that comes to mind.
So the training for Apex, you're proficient in a specific subject area?
The training for Apex really isn't, no, it's not content specific. It's really just a matter of learning how to unlock modules and be a proctor for pre-tests and post-tests. There's a small amount of figuring of the grades and maybe some manual entering, depending on if there are additional assignments, written assignments and things like that. So for the most part, it's really just understanding the program and the platform of Apex itself. And then the content's going to come along with your credentials as a classroom teacher. All good questions.
Thanks.
Sure. Just a quick overview of the middle school level. Again, middle school is not necessarily, because they don't accrue credits for the most part toward graduation. The middle school summer school program really is all about remediation. So this year we had an enrollment of 59, and of those, 53 students passed, and 6 of them did not meet the requirements to actually pass the summer school, middle school program. Most of the time when that happens, if a student doesn't pass middle school, summer school, the decision to move forward to the next grade level really comes back down to the administrator along with the parent. We really don't want to move them along in their education if they've had a number of failures. However, we also know that holding them back can be damaging in some cases, socially and academically even. So it's kind of that fine line between, well, you came, you were a few points away from passing. What are we going to do? We're going to retain you. That's a decision that really comes down to a case-by-case scenario. But really, I would just point to that 90% pass rate. As you can see, the middle school, summer school program is moving along at much the same pace as the high school program. I will, and I think this is on a later slide, but I'll say it now, I will just tip my hat to Miss Erin Miranda. For the past 2 summers, she has been the person who has helped me oversee the middle school, since I can't be in 2 places at one time. I oversee the program as a whole, but we hire her on and she functions almost like an AP to be on site at the middle school level. So she handles registrations and enrollments, schedules. She helps with the hiring of the middle school instructors. She sees the day-to-day operations, getting students off the bus, being there, providing supervision, and then all through dismissal. So I just want to point that out and give her credit. So in summary, with 146 high school student enrollments, 142 students were able to pass and recover lost credits. 146 classes. That was 146 Fs on somebody's transcript. And of those, 142 of them, the Fs have been mitigated with a passing grade. We continued our math tutoring partnership with Shepherd University. The middle school program had a successful year under the supervision of Mrs. Miranda. And the 2019 summer school session was overwhelmingly successful. And to date, once again, this was our highest achieving summer school cohort. Thank you for listening. Are there any other questions for me?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't think it's part of the Apex program, but did you see a decrease in the number of high school students for the PE class now that we have the alternate PE credit?
Yes, a tremendous decrease. I wasn't sure what to expect going into this summer because I knew that the requirements, what options had been given.
Right.
And so, as a matter of fact, as a result of that drop-off, where we were running, when I first came on board, we were running over 100 students, and then through the years it would decrease, maybe by 10 or 15 kids per year. Last year we ran the program with about 50 students, which was pretty low, and then this year, because of that change, we had half that many. And so that caused us to have a reduction in force for our summer school PE teachers because we were overstaffed. So, again, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Our students have options. There's lots of different ways to complete their PE credits, as well as all of the different credits that they need in order to graduate. So, but it did impact my program. Great question.
By decreasing it, which you said was a good thing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Alex, what would you say gave us the 10% jump for social studies even? Like what would that, from going from 90 to 100 as far as pass rate? I mean, it seems like arts and foreign language, that seems pretty standard. Once kids have that closer one-on-one, it's probably more getting the assignments done and turning them in, but.
I would attribute it to not one thing in particular. But really, if I could say this, it's probably got a little bit to do with my own competitive nature and beating my own self from previous years and drilling into my students' head. When they come in the door on day number 1, I tell them, our pass rate last year was 95%, and we're not going backward. We're going to go forward. And so it's really taking the time out to visit classrooms, checking in with the kids, encouraging them, telling my tutors, if you don't know how to do, you can do math and that's great, but if you know how to do English or social studies and this kid's struggling, go in there and help them. Telling my teachers, just popping in and doing classroom walkthroughs to make sure that they're sitting next to the children and not just playing solitaire and waiting for a grade to pop up for them to enter. It's just a matter of really pushing the narrative that we want to keep getting better. And so while I don't know why it went from 90 to 100, it might have to do with motivation.
questions? Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, Mom.
The applause will be louder with the first, good evening Jefferson County, this is Mr. White. I can almost guarantee.
I didn't think I'd be able to escape without at least one Mr. White reference, so
See?
thank
There
you
you
for
go.
that. And thanks again for having me.
Thank you. All right. Madam Superintendent, do you have any comments this evening? Approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the regular minutes from the board meeting held September 23rd? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Citizens' comments? None. All right. Consent agenda.
You will note there are 4 changes on the consent agenda, number 35 and number 42, which were simply duplicates, number 62, which was a duplicate, and number 14, where we inadvertently had the school at which Ms. Christman was the assistant volleyball coach at Shepherdstown Middle School, which is where she works, but she's coaching at Wildwood Middle School, so those are the only changes.
I had a question on number 55.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that just creating the position, and then when we actually hire somebody, we will approve the individual to go into that position?
Yes, right now you're simply creating the position.
Okay. All right. And then 31 and 32, is that a new program, or is that something that we've always done?
I don't know the answer to that. But I'll find out for you. You can,
Yeah, so those would be typically ones that went through the, contract.
oh, with those
process.
contract folks because of the IRS thing that we had to move over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And they pay for those operating funds?
Yeah,
Right.
so it just
So
different
we don't pay
process.
for those. We just process the money through the band funds. Those are sort of like the cheerleading bow makers and
Right, all
Right,
the
the boosters.
band camp type things.
it's a thing which I did not know until this year. So
They're really cheerleading filmmakers. I did not know
Yes.
this either.
they pay, and no disrespect, because
Oh, they're
I
rocking
I
boats.
just
I've seen
had
'em.
no idea. They're awesome, but yes, that's somebody, they contract with somebody to make those. I was always just impressed, like, your mom did that? But no,
Right,
they pay somebody
that makes
out of
sense.
their funds.
So it's just booster money being,
It's booster money that
Okay.
we, yeah.
is there a motion to pass the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second, and then I just have one follow-up question on that.
Okay.
I know that last year we had to vote to actually open up another classroom at Page Jackson because of the way Head Start ages fell.
Preschool.
Remember how we had to
It's
do that? We had
preschool.
to have a preschool. So I'm assuming that this is kind of now moving, because those preschoolers are now possibly moving into school age and that program is expanding. Is that what this is from?
Presumably, yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right. I would say we need to add that to our list as well for our legislative thoughts and exchanges.
Well,
Just because special education as a whole, obviously, when you do a budget, you cannot
predict.
predict. But at the same time, every year we get hit with at least, an average of 5 to 7 new positions that we have to add that are not in the budget just for special ed.
Far more that we end up moving people around,
Right.
kids moving in and out, and I think
Right.
Cindy's been as judicious about that as she possibly can be. But yes, ma'am, it's unpredictable, which makes it very, very difficult. Although the legislators, if you will recall, did give you the ability to start a fund, a savings fund for special education expenses for you to be able to put your extra money into
That was on.
from your budget.
Yeah, that extra money that they're not giving us.
Yes.
Send us some extra money.
But now you
Right.
can make an
Put
account
into that fund.
to save for it.
When we actually get to the proper contingency fund that they require, maybe we will actually get to some savings.
That would be
but-
great. But next year should be interesting as well because it is the first full year after the changes in the kindergarten enrollment age. And it'll be interesting to see when those folks' children actually do make the age where they bring them into kindergarten, where they take them out and serve them privately, and all of a sudden our first grade is huge. Plus we have open enrollment, which starts July 1 next year. So our predictions on staffing are going to be interesting. Very, very interesting.
And this one here, the one at Page Jackson, number 55, that's the child that just moved from birth to 3 to preschool. So would we have had that on our radar at the beginning of the year? Or did this one just come as a surprise?
I can't answer that.
Okay.
Can't answer that.
Any other discussion or questions on the consent agenda? All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the consent agenda? Opposed? All right, thank you. Unfinished business, there is none. New business, action on approval to go out for bid on lawn care service.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Our current lawn care contract expires in December, so we are requesting that we go out to bid for lawn care services and start a new contract beginning in December.
Joyce, how long do we bid that for last?
There were 2 6-month sections, and the last section comes up in December, which is a good time of year to bid the lawn care and have it come up every December.
So we're just doing it a year at a time?
Right, you can do it a year, and the RFP will be written so we have the opportunity to extend it 2 more years, like all of our other contracts.
All right, is there a motion to go out for bid on lawn care service?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion?
Did we find from last year, I know we had a different service, did we find that it was better, things that we need to change, things that weren't done that we need to add to the contract?
No, I think the current lawn care service is doing an excellent job. I
The
think the girls
feedback
have
I've
very good-
gotten has
Mhm.
been, they have been head and shoulders above what we've had in the past. And we did, you and I in particular, suggested going to a company that charged more money, but I think they gave us a whole lot more service, to be truthful with you.
I think with this RFP, we'll put in playground mulch, kind of include that, have them bid both with mulch included and without, so we get a couple of different options to see if playground mulch, including that in this bid, would be beneficial or not.
I think it would be beneficial for the county to look at playground mulch as a bulk amount because you can buy it so much cheaper in bulk than you can by each school
Certainly.
going about it.
So that'll give you an option.
And I'd like
To
to see
decide.
this contract probably be, like you suggested, kept being renewed for the second and third year
Yes,
as well.
absolutely.
If they're gonna do that, Joyce, if you're gonna put that in there, which I do agree with Mark, that's a good idea, especially for the company. Cause they know how much they can buy it in bulk if they get the contract to do all the schools.
Correct.
But I think it would be helpful as well, when we have that number, if we can see how much our autonomous buildings have had to pay, or, as in operations, we've said, oh, we've done these 2 schools and we paid this much, then we did this school over here, we paid this much. If we can just pull, from the system what we've paid for mulch, period, and we can see how much, we've spent on that, so we have an approximate idea of what that could or should go
Great.
up.
I don't have the figures before me, but we can definitely
sure.
get that to you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right,
Those numbers might not give you the information that you want. Because if you remember, the people taking care of the loans and stuff now, that contract that we're finishing up now was a fair amount higher than what we had been paying. But they also have been doing a heck of a lot better job, in my opinion. Our facilities look a lot better than they did, so I think you might have to be careful how you look at those numbers, because they're not necessarily close.
Apples and apples.
Yeah, right. There you go.
all right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving to go out to bid on lawn care service?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, executive session, I believe we have
We have a student
Student.
discipline and a legal.
and there will be action.
I anticipate so, yes, ma'am.
All right. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
God.
All right. Thank you.